यस्य रूपमधिकम् प्रच्छन्नगुप्तं धनम् विद्या भोगकरी यशः सुखकरी विद्या गुरुणा गुरुः विद्या बन्धुजनो विदेशगमने विद्या परं दैवतम् विद्या राजसु पूज्यते न तु धनम् विद्या विहीनः पशुः विद्या प्रशस्यते लोकैः विद्या सर्वत्र गौरवा विद्यया लभते सर्वम् विद्वान् सर्वत्र पूज्यते ज्ञानेन सदृशं पवित्रमिह विद्यते न हि ज्ञानेन सदृशं पवित्रमिह विद्यते न हि ज्ञानेन सदृशं पवित्रमिह विद्यते।
Dr.Rashmi Bendre holds a strong academic foundation in finance and management by achieving MMS in finance, an MCom and an SHRM certification from IIM Nagpur. Her academic journey recently reached an important milestone with the successful defense of her doctoral thesis in the area of business policy and administration. Beyond her core specialization, Dr. Bendre has actively explored interdisciplinary domains including mythology and has earned certificate courses in FEMA and intellectual property rights from ICSI. Currently serving as the head of the Department of BBI and BBA, Dr. Bendre firmly believes that teaching goes beyond the transfer of knowledge. Her overreaching goal is to foster an engaging and inclusive learning environment where students are encouraged to explore concepts deeply, ask meaningful questions, and confidently apply their learning to real-world business scenarios. So let's welcome Vidyvchspti, Dr. Rashmi Bendre.
Namaskar, I am Dr. Rashmi Bendre. My topic for the thesis dissertation for my PhD was a study on job satisfaction and employee engagement with a special reference to a generationally diverse workforce in the financial service sector. The table of contents for my thesis were the introduction, job satisfaction and employee engagement, the review of the literature followed by the research methodology, and then understanding the data analysis and the interpretations, findings and conclusions, and finally suggesting and recommending a few remedies for the same. Looking at the financial service sector today, the rapid dynamics and the engagement strategies become the most important part for the financial service sector to run. My study included the generationally diverse workforce. The diverse workforce in the work culture today, right from the baby boomers, the Gen Xers, the millennials, has made it very important for the leaders today to understand the group cohesiveness and bringing out the best of all the generations together to work fruitfully towards the betterment of the organization. The job satisfaction and the employee engagement are the parameters which increase the productivity and the retention in the organization. For the study, various aspects of job satisfaction have been considered, like wages, the nature of work, the promotion chances, the supervision, that is the immediate leadership, the group work, that is the teamwork, and the working conditions, which form the most important part to deliver the best. There are many theories of job satisfaction which have been studied over the years: Maslow's, two-factor, and many others. Employee engagement and the professional commitment of the employees towards the organization talks about the urge and the commitment which the employee wants to give towards the organization. It goes beyond the job satisfaction. It talks about the passion of the employees, the proactiveness to work, and it also talks about aligning values of the individuals with the organization. There are multiple drivers of employee engagement, right from the trust and integrity, the nature of the job, the line of sight, the growth opportunities available for the individual, the pride about the company, the co-workers, the cohesiveness yet again, what is the individual employee's development, and lastly, his relationship with his own immediate manager. Again, we'll find multiple theories of employee engagement available, which can be studied at large. The employee engagement models which have been successfully implemented and worked upon, right from Kahn's model to Ion Hewitt's model and many others, have been striving to improvise on the employee engagement for the various sectors which are available. The review of literature encompassed of 97 research papers allied, which spoke about the individual variables which were considered for the study. There are 8 theses which were studied for the same, and there were 7 books which were referenced in order to understand and dwell deeper into the job satisfaction and the employee engagement concepts applicable towards the financial service sector. Like every research, there are research gaps in this too. There has been limited research which has been worked upon for the employee passion. There is insufficient exploration about the role of stress dynamics on the performance of the employee. There's a narrow scope around the engagement factors because there's been a lot of emphasis which has been laid on job satisfaction till now. The understudied link between the morale of the employee and the engagement of the employee, the neglect of the micro and the macro level impacts which can impact the industry, and similarly the companies involving the same, and need of the custom based measurement. There can be no one fit test for all. The research methodology followed included the objectives of the study, clearly mentioning the objectives of the study were to study and compare the job satisfaction amongst the diverse workforce. My study encompassed the millennials, the generation X, and the baby boomers together. To study and compare the employee engagement amongst all of these generations, yet again, the millennials, the generation X, and the baby boomers. To study the relationship between the job satisfaction and employee engagement, if there exists any, and of course, in all the three generations too. To study and compare the job satisfaction and the employee engagement on the basis of select demographic factors such as the age, the qualification, the income, the level of management, etc., number of years of service. And lastly, to suggest strategies to enhance such productive management ideas for the employees. Since my study encompassed the financial service sector, so there are multiple financial service sector companies which were considered for the same. The sample size for my thesis considered was 427 samples were collected. The sampling method used is the convenience sampling. Data collection encompassed of the primary and the secondary data collection. The research instruments that were used were uh, the questionnaire, and the hypotheses were tested based on the same. The statistical tool used for the same were the Kendall-Tau test, then Kruskal-Wallis test, and the structural equation model SEM model was used. The prominent hypotheses tested for the thesis are the difference between the level of job satisfaction amongst the millennial, the Gen Xers, and the baby boomers on the basis of all the demographic factors such as the gender, the qualification, the income, work experience, and of course the overall. Similarly, a hypothesis tested was on the similarly to study the difference between the employee engagement of the generationally diverse workforce individually with millennials, generation X, and baby boomers on the basis of again the select demographic factors such as the income, the qualification, number of years of experience, and overall. To study the effect of job satisfaction on the employee engagement with the generationally diverse workforce. To study the impact of job satisfaction and employee engagement on the generationally diverse workforce, and to study the influence of job satisfaction and employee engagement on the generationally diverse workforce were the prominent hypotheses which were tested. For the sample size calculation, the Cochrane formula has been used, which comes to generally 384. However, my sample encompassed 427 representative sample from the industry. The variables for the study are as follows. The dependent variables were the job satisfaction and the employee engagement. For the purview of the study, the job satisfaction was measured on the basis of feedback, work life balance, fairness and supervision, compensation, communication, workplace and the operating conditions, and training and development. Whereas the employee engagement was studied on the basis of opportunity for growth, the teamwork, customer focus, purpose and the direction, respect for the management, respect for the employees, performance and accountability, personal expression, and lastly, the leadership. The scope of the study includes the geographical scope, the industrial scope. The geographical scope includes the study only for the Mumbai suburban region. Industrial scope, it is only limited for the financial service sector. The generational scope, because every generation and within the generations also, the employees may have different perspectives. The conceptual scope, the concepts of job satisfaction and employee engagement have been defined for the purpose of the study. The method used for the same also limits the scope of the study. Temporal scope, the study is limited for a period of time. The results of the study undertaken in the future date may show a different result, and the organizational scope would define the scope of the study. Similarly, there are limitations to the study too. The generalizability, the sample size and the representation. There can also be a self-reporting bias which comes in. The cross-generational differences can stand out differently. The temporal changes depending upon the uh, time frame, timeline that we are conducting the study. The study shall also result differently when undertaken for a different industry. There's a limited access to data because the geographical location has been bound. The research design also had its own constraints, and the external influences such as the micro and the macroeconomic policies also change the results of the study. The data analysis and interpretation. When hypothesis tested for the job satisfaction, the overall job satisfaction shows a significant difference, which is why the H1 is accepted. The annual income also shows a significant difference in the various generations. The qualifications also show a significant difference, which is why the H1 is accepted yet again. And work experience, the number of years of experience of the employee within the organization also is an important factor which changes the job satisfaction of the respondent. Looking at the millennials, we can see that gender is no longer a criteria for this generation to be differentiated for the job satisfaction. Annual income also does not remain the criteria to distinguish the job satisfaction here. However, qualification can be evidently seen as a factor where the job satisfaction is based on, and the work experience also, which is why there is a significant difference in the work experience and the qualifications of the millennial in the job satisfaction in each of these generations. Looking at the generation X, there is a significant difference in the job satisfaction of the genders. There's a significant difference in the annual income earned by the Gen Xers and um, the job satisfaction. Qualification also is playing a very important role, which is why H1 is accepted here too. The work experience also matters for the generation X, which is why we can see a significant difference with respect to the number of years of experience of this generation. Coming to the baby boomers, the gender related job satisfaction is rejected. That means over here, the gender does not become a primary concern for the change in the job satisfaction. Whereas the annual income, qualification, and work experience do not form a part of the study for the job satisfaction. In case of baby boomers, the annual income, qualification and work experience, uh, the hypothesis cannot be tested because the answers over here are skewed. Based on the employee engagement, the overall engagement is gender wise differentiated, which is why H1 is accepted. We can also see that the overall sample of 427 has shown a different engagement on the basis of the annual income that they earn. The qualification has also played an important role while looking at the engagement, and similarly is the work experience, which is why in all the cases, in all the four demographic factors, H1 is accepted. In case of millennials, we again see that gender does not form an important part to make the millennials engaged in the organization. The annual income is also not the criteria for the generation. However, the qualification plays an important role, and which is why H1 is accepted. Work experience plays an important role, which is why H1 is accepted. In case of generation X, we can find that the gender, annual income, qualification and work experience, all of the four factors play an important role, and which is why we will find that there is a significant difference gender wise, annual income wise, qualification wise, as well as the work experience wise for the generation X. Moving on to the baby boomers, we can see that gender does not remain the criteria for the baby boomers generation to be differentiated on the basis of the employee engagement. And we cannot test the annual income, qualification, and work experience for the employee engagement. That is because the answers are skewed over here. The analysis of the job satisfaction and employee engagement has resulted into a new term, that is what happens if an employee is satisfied with his job and is fully engaged in the organization. What results into would be called as work better condition. Let us call it work resonance. With this, not only the satisfaction increases, the productivity increases, so does the commitment of the employee towards the organization. So there are a few factors which are considered. Job satisfaction would be called factor 1 are named as change factors, factor 2 are the privacy factors. Employee engagement considered are the customer service factors, and the factor 2 considered as the achievement factors. The work better or the work resonance that is generated would be based on the feedback factors and the task accomplished. The KMO Barley test is being used for the factor analysis for the job satisfaction. KMO Bartlett test is used for testing the hypothesis for employee engagement too. And I have used the same test in order to identify if there are any work better, that is work resonance opportunities also. These are the models presented. We are looking at the models of a millennial. The WB, the work better situation, the work resonance that we are talking about, is increased with respect to the performance and accountability. It is increased from the respect of management, and very importantly it talks about communication. So these three are the most important factors for the generation of millennials in order to be more engaged and more satisfied about their jobs. Looking at the generation X, we can see the respect of the management, and we can see that the workplace resources and operating conditions. Similarly, communication. So these three factors play a very important role for the generation X employees to be more satisfied and engaged with their jobs. Looking at the baby boomers, the generation which is about to retire or are working as retainers in the organization, they are looking at the performance and accountability, and they are looking at the communication. So these two factors are drawing this generation together to commit more and be satisfied about their jobs. Similarly, we will also find that all the three generations together, we saw individually for each of these generations. If I combine all the three generations together, we realize that the most important factors for all the employees to resonate back to the workplace are the communication, fair communication, then looking at the respect of the management, and we are looking at the performance and accountability. So looking at these factors play a very important role for all the three generations to bring out their best and align their values with the organizational values. Findings and conclusions. It can be seen, as we've just read the charts, that communication and workplace resources became the important part for the millennials to be satisfied about their job. and respect for management in terms of employee engagement. Generation X, the workplace resources and respect for management for the employee engagement. Baby boomers also are talking about the operating conditions, and they'll be very content about the performance and accountability. Looking at all the three generations together, we can conclude that the workplace resources and operating conditions and the respect for management remain the important factors to bring out the best. There are a few suggestions and recommendations which um, are reviewed in the thesis. The regular review, real time feedback, and anonymous feedback channels can also be used because communication plays the most important role while bringing out the best from the employees. The work life balance with post COVID, we all know that what is the importance of the work life balance since we have started bringing back home late in the night, and we have all spoiled our uh, reserved holidays also for working for our organization. So flexible working hours and wellness programs can do a lot. Fairness and supervision, if transparent policies and equal opportunities are provided irrespective of the bias, and bringing in the diversity and the inclusion of all the generations together, this can work best. Competitive salaries are a very important part for retaining the employees. The performance bonus can be an added benefit and a benefit package. Open door policy for the communication, two-way communication is also important. Operating conditions talks about the comfortable environment to work in, resource availability to work for the company, and obviously continuous learning, the upgradation of the employee is also equally important for the organization to work better. Suggestions for the employee engagement, the career development, unless the institutional and the individual goals align, no result can be a fruitful result. So career development path and the training programs, mentorship programs can also help. The teamwork, collaborative projects, they can be uh, over different organization, different branches, or it can also be for an MNC combined together the ethnicity and the geographical distances also. Inclusive work culture can help. The customer centric training program should be provided, and recognition for the customer services provided should also be a very important part which can improve the employee engagement. Clear mission and alignment of the goals and the regular updates shall add up to the purpose and direction of the employee and that of the organization. The transparent communication enhances the respect of the management and for the management also. So empathetic leadership plays an important role. Respect for the employees, peer recognition, fair treatment, um, lending an ear, that helps. Performance and accountability is talking about the clear expectations and the performance matrix for each. Diversity and inclusion programs that shall help a lot, and it shall also create cohesiveness in the workplace. And the leadership development, the visionary leaders, and of course the leader leading by example, nothing brings out the best other than that. The few recommendations on the basis of the same, where the health and wellness programs can be added for the baby boomers since they are at the senior age of their lives. For the generation X, the work life balance or the leadership development programs can bring in the best for them. The millennials still are into the middle level management, so flexibility, flexibility in the working hours, the benefits, open and collaborative culture, or leveraging the digital communication tools can also add a lot for the millennials. Similarly, if you look at the employee engagement of the baby boomers, they can reinforce the company's vision mission regularly. They can also be brought back as mentors to the newbies in the organization, whereas Generation X can lead by example. That is, the development programs that we have provided them, they can be the future leaders to the organization today. And looking at the millennials, we are looking at the regular constructive feedback and the recognition can shape their future, and succession planning can be implemented. Social relevance of the study. So, for the employees, the economic upliftment, encouraging the continuous learning, and most importantly, understanding that the retention of the employees, how to retain the employees in the right way. The employees, for the employees, you will find that the study is relevant because we are talking about empowerment through inclusion. Importantly, it is talking about the continuous learning, the upgradation of the employee, the skill development of the employee also. It is benefited to the government and the society as well, because we are talking about the cultural shifts, and you'll also find the economic development, the economic cycles in which each of the sector may belong to. There's always a further scope for the research in the same topic. uh, the way I have implemented it for the financial service sector, it can also be done for the technological sector, the healthcare sector, education sector, the manufacturing sector, and the universal and creative dimensions, whichever the further researcher may find fit, deemed fit to do it. Thank you so much.
ज्ञानेन सदृशं पवित्रमिह विद्यते न हि ज्ञानेन सदृशं पवित्रमिह विद्यते न हि ज्ञानेन सदृशं पवित्रमिह विद्यते